Now, the EFF in the Western Cape is opening the party's Provincial People's Assembly in the province today. EFF branches are expected to elect new leaders in the province. Our reporter Athi Mtongana is covering this event for us and joins us live from Cape Town. Athi, a very good evening to you. We perhaps should get a picture of what the developments are in that part of the country as this assembly gets underway, because throughout the other assemblies and the sort of sentiments that have been echoed by EFF leader Julius Malema when it comes to election, he has spoken a lot about gender balance and the EFF's position on women within the party and their positions.
Yes, and Paul, those are the issues that the delegates here are hoping that the leadership that they'll be electing will be advancing going forward when they get into their new term as leaders in the build-up, of course, to the 2024 elections in the country. I want my colleague Lance to just perhaps pan and show you that there's a hive of activity here. Delegates have arrived from different regions across the Western Cape as, of course, they gear up to start electing new leadership for their province. Many of them come from afar. They come from places like George and the central Karoo. They traveled this morning to get to an area called Edgemead, where they did a registration process ahead of arriving to the main venue. This is the main venue in Cape Town at Cape Town High School, where they're expected to, of course, once again elect new leadership. To get a sense of what to expect then moving into this evening, I'm joined by the spokesperson, Sinawo Tambo. Thank you for joining us on Newsroom. It's been a long day, to say the least, for these delegates who have traveled from afar. What processes will unfold from now onwards?
Yes, it's indeed been a long day. We have delegates who come from as far as the Southern Cape, from Overberg, from the Cape Winelands, who have come to renew the mandate of the provincial leadership in the Western Cape and what is the third Provincial People's Assembly. So what we are going to be undertaking today is receiving the reports, the organizational reports, the political reports, the treasurer's report, reflecting on the past 4-year term of the provincial leadership here in the Western Cape, reflecting on the elections which happened in their term, how we can do better. And then the keynote address will be given by the Secretary General of the EFF, Marshal Dlamini, who's going to give a line of march in terms of how this conference will proceed. Then nominations for the top 5, which will be the chairperson, the deputy chairperson, secretary, deputy secretary, and treasurer will be taken, who will be leading this province for the next 4 years and into even the 2024 elections. And that process will be happening today, and delegates are energized, they're prepared to be disciplined, and we expect a very good conference.
Looking at the leadership that has led this province to the third People's Assembly, and looking at the 2021 municipal elections, including the various by-elections at different wards where the EFF was contesting, what is the stance of National in terms of how they have performed?
Look, they've taken us to a point. I mean, it is a difficult terrain, the Western Cape, as one may know, especially for political parties which are deemed as black primarily in terms of their constituents. So they've taken us from one point to the next. There will be a robust reflection on the electoral performances which have happened over the past 4 years, particularly with by-elections, where we will be lying if we were to say that we've been doing well. We have to speak the truth about that our performances have not been satisfactory. There must be a frank engagement about that.
Have you noted why you haven't been performing well?
Look, a variety of factors, perhaps lack of organizational strength in certain areas, lack of commitment by certain people who have been tasked with doing certain tasks, but also the terrain as well. So there's a variety of conversion factors that affect our electoral performance. And as the EFF, we're not an organization that lies to itself or wants to lie to the public. We're going to engage frankly about those electoral performances and ensure that going into 2024, our people are able to put their trust in an organization that will address the primary sin which began here in the Western Cape, which is land dispossession. So the EFF is supposed to find utmost resonance in the Western Cape because our policies speak to the agricultural reform, the land reform that is necessary to empower our people. And we're going to make sure that whoever leads this province going forward, there must be a discussion about what has happened in the past 4 years, and what needs to happen going forward, especially going into the 2024 elections.
Before I let you go, you mentioned that the Secretary General is going to give an opening statement. Are you going to be having the CIC in one of these days? You know, it's a three-leg conference. Are you going to have him address the delegates?
Look, traditionally the Commander-in-Chief closes the Provincial People's Assemblies of the EFF, and we will update the public as to at which point in time that will happen, if it is to happen. So traditionally the Commander-in-Chief is the one who closes the conferences, and we will update the public in regards to that. But the Secretary General, who is a deployee to the Western Cape as well, is going to be best placed to open this conference and address the various dynamics affecting us internally and externally. That will be an open session to the media, which will be able to hear the frank truths, which the SG is very accustomed to telling.
Thank you so much for your time. It's now a time with the national spokesperson of the Economic Freedom Fighters mentioning that the Secretary General will be opening this People's Assembly, the third installment, and then hopefully on Sunday the Commander-in-Chief will then give the closing remarks. So today, this evening, we're expecting these delegates here to nominate the top 5, the top brass of the EFF in this province. We know at the helm right now is Melikaya Chego as the chairperson of this particular province. We heard some of the delegates chanting his name. Whether he'll come into another term, it remains to be seen. That's why we're here to listen in on the nominations by the delegations this evening.
Very well, Athi Mtongana. We leave it there for now as we continue to keep a close eye on those developments.